Yeah.
Hey,
How you
how
doing,
are you
man?
doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So for everybody
Awesome.
tuning in right now, I want to introduce you to Mykel Larrin. And I'm not going to say too much about who he is or what he does because I want him to say that. So thank you for tuning in today for our noontime virtual coffee break. I appreciate your time and reaching out to you. So just give everybody a quick little glimpse who you are and what do you do.
Yeah. So my name is Mykel Larrin, and I ride bikes. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I started riding BMX when I was younger, and I was very fortunate to find that to be something that I really enjoy doing. And over the years, there was a couple things that kind of stuck out that was like my gift, and that was something that really kind of brought me to life. And I just started chasing it a lot more when I was in college, like to the full extent. And I'm just grateful to do that. So been competing since I did my first contest back when I was like in my early teens, and now I'm just grateful to be able to do that for a job, if you will. But like it's just one of those things where it's a lifestyle. It's something that really caters to just the creative process and whatnot. So that's the long answer for it. But essentially, it's like a professional BMX rider. There's different avenues that are encapsulated in that as well. But I enjoy it, man. I mean, it's very much a part of who I am.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you guys didn't pick up on that, Mykel is a professional bike rider. BMX bike rider. He rides a 20-inch bike for a living and gets to travel all over the world doing it. And we'll get more into his story later in the interview. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them as they pop up or as I see them. We will try to answer them kind of, it may be spur of the moment. If you're in the midst of chatting about something, we will answer. Big hello from Brazil. Shout out to Brazil. Brazil's in the house. Thank you for tuning in. We got people probably tuning in from all over probably the world because Mykel has a big following because he gets to travel all over the world. So what I like to kind of do at the beginning, just some icebreaker questions, some fun stuff just to kind of have fun. So to start with, because we call this the virtual coffee break, are you a coffee drinker? And what kind of coffee do you drink? Or are you an energy drink type guy?
Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, I mean, for coffee, okay, so it's a small story. When I was younger, my grandpa was a huge coffee drinker, and that was like his thing. So on Saturday mornings, he would actually make 2 pots of coffee, one for himself that was like real coffee, the other was decaf. And my brother and I would always get the chance to sit down with him. He would always go and get a dozen donuts. At the time, it was my mom, my brother, myself, and him. So everybody would get 2 donuts out of the dozen. And it was just one of those things where like, all right, cool, everybody's got the donuts, and then you just have those couple extra that just kind of lay around, and it was awesome because that was like our Saturday morning thing. So when I actually started drinking real coffee, it became that experience that I got to, because he passed away when I was in middle school. So it was still one of those experience type platforms. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have coffee, and it kind of reminisce a little bit. And then energy drinks, yeah, 100%, man. Like I think that there's a level to me on a weekend being able to be stoked and like get a little jazzed up with some Rockstar and whatnot. But I mean, honestly, it's just one of those things where I really enjoy, like you said, like coffee break, if it's in the middle of the day or the morning or whatever. I mean, it's definitely a process of just being able to kind of unplug a little bit,
Yeah, I'm similar because my wife's a big coffee drinker. I haven't really acquired the taste because I like sweet stuff, so I haven't really acquired the taste of coffee. But growing up, going over to my grandparents' house, my grandma and grandpa would always drink coffee and have their coffee donut, kind of similar to you.
Yeah.
And so walking into their house every time, it had that coffee aroma. So it's that sensory thing that now when my wife drinks coffee and I make her coffee, I almost make it as every morning for as much as possible. It always brings me back because my grandparents have both passed away. It brings me back to like walking into their house. So it may not be like I enjoy the coffee, but like my wife enjoys good coffee. I enjoy making her good coffee. So, and the aroma of it kind of brings back those memories and those shared thoughts, like, hey, like just walking into their house. So I have that similar type feeling. Shout out to Rockstar. If you didn't know, Mykel is sponsored by Rockstar. So I'm sure he gets hyped on drinking a Rockstar when he's out riding. So, all right, breakfast guy. Are you a breakfast guy, and what kind of cereal do you like? This is another quick.
Okay. Yeah, no, breakfast 100%. It's funny with cereal. my latest thing's been like checks. You know,
Checks.
when I was growing up, it was like cocoa puffs, but obviously that's a lot of sugar. So, but mainly, I mean, if I do have cereal, it's checks. You know, but I'm more of a smoothie guy for breakfast. So, um, and in that smoothie, it's like mixed berries, like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, banana, like a vanilla protein powder, and then like oat milk. So I'll do that most days for breakfast.
Nice, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
next one. Next one. When riding, what music are you listening to? What's in the headphones?
Ooh, that's good. That's a good one. So there's a mix of stuff that I've actually made myself. Like that's one of my other creative outlets. Like I really enjoy making music. But aside from that, I mean, there's a plethora of stuff. Like
What do you have on the playlist? Your own stuff, or do you're throwing in like just
there's a mix.
sound bites of a bunch of things just to hype you up?
Yeah, so like the stuff that I'll make is more instrumental based type music. But I also like on my playlist there'll be everything from uh, say Andy Mineo to Bayside to um,
John
uh,
Mayer.
there's actually a John Mayer song on there. Yep, and then there's everything from like old school hip hop stuff back in the day, new school hip hop like today. But I think one of the biggest things is I always listen to a lot of the words, and sometimes that gets me mixed up. So I'll get the instrumental for a lot of those songs, so I could just zone out and focus on what I'm actually doing. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I got it's a pretty widespread thing. I mean, it's like Otis Redding to Louis Armstrong to like I got.
Do you have your music up anywhere?
No, somebody actually asked me that the other day, and I haven't posted it or like put it on any platform yet. But
SoundCloud. Throw it up on SoundCloud. Get some people just
right.
heading over to SoundCloud. Cause you could throw like 30-minute playlists up there. You can like if you have like a DJ type set, you could throw your set up there, and then people can go and listen to it off their app and subscribe kind of. And it's something simple that you could just have the Mykel DJ Mykel like account. So that'd be perfect.
Well, yeah,
so
thanks.
if you were to wear cowboy hat or sombrero, what would be your jam?
Ooh, sombrero. 100%.
Sombrero, 100%. All right, and this one was one my daughters asked. And they kind of ask sometimes weird questions. So, would you rather have a little bit of sand in your shoe or some small pebbles in your shoes for a whole year? Like as you're walking around, riding, doing. It's a heavy one.
Probably the sand. Probably do sand, and then I think I don't know. Like for pebbles, when I was younger, it's funny because we'd always be playing in the rocks. Like there was a field that was down the street from our house, and my brother and I would always be out there playing. And you get a pebble in your shoe, and it just I don't know. We were out and about, just hanging out. So it was just one of those things that you get some rocks in your shoes, like all right, cool, whatever. But like sand, I could do. I'd probably do sand. Yeah.
Yeah, you could double up on socks and kind of get used to the feeling of it if needed.
Yeah, a whole year though, man, that's a long time.
Yeah. It's just like one of those would you rather, and I always think of trying to kind of obscure ones that kind of play into the person's profession a little bit, because like you said, you have to wear shoes. I was going to ask you, like, would you rather wear flip-flops or rather wear Birkenstocks for a whole year when you ride your bikes?
Yeah, shoes. Yeah, for sure. It's weird, man. Like I honestly, like I rarely have shorts on. I rarely have sandals. Like I kind of think about that occasionally. I was like, man, I haven't worn shorts in forever, man. It's kind of crazy. But
is Corey the Faust one of your friends?
Yeah, Corey's awesome, man.
He said, would you rather fight 100 ducks the size of, would you rather fight 100 ducks sized horses or one horse sized duck?
I'm probably the one horse sized duck for sure.
I got him into a pool before. What's the story behind that? You don't ride pools very much? Or is it swimming pool?
Yeah, so when I lived, I went from Wisconsin to Pennsylvania, and I moved to Woodward. And previous to that, I'd only met a couple of the guys that lived there. And when I moved in, Corey was one of the guys that lived in the house. And so it was awesome, man. I mean, those guys are like family still to this day. And it was funny because I would always make jokes with Corey. He has a really good sense of humor. I was like, yeah, man, I can't swim. He's like, what? I was like, yeah. And I was joking, but it was just one of those things, like I never was in the water, and at camp they have the pool. And so Corey'd be out there hanging out, chilling, sunbathing. He's like, Mykel, come kick it. I was like, no, I'm good. Can't do it, man. And over the years that we spent out there hanging out, man, it was cool to, get to know each other and have that kind of foundation that was laid. And so I just remember one day I was like, all right, man, we'll come kick it. He's like, dude, finally, you know. And I crack up because it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you have this foundation, there's common ground, and it's just cool because these guys, you know, it's like they become family, right? And
Mm-hmm.
over the time, like regardless if it's BMX or just hanging out or, you know, just really getting to know each other on a deep level, man, it's awesome because those, you know, big conversations or tough conversations or, you know, chasing the common dream ends up laying a really good bar. So yeah, Corey's great, man. He's always been a really good dude. And,
Nice.
you know, again, to this day, it's like solid.
Nice. So I know at the beginning of our chat, you kind of touched base a little bit of your background on what got you into BMX. I know a little bit of your background. Maybe some of the people who are tuning in may not know stories. So give people kind of a snapshot of growing up, what got you into BMX, what kind of, like I said, what led you into riding bikes for a living, and how it's all played personally so far into where you are to current day or whatever, if you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
a 2 hour autobiography, but just give people just a little bit of snapshot how you were raised, because you mentioned you were raised in up north here, up in Wisconsin. So I'm in Minneapolis, so
Yeah.
up in Wisconsin. So shout out to the Northerners. So, but give
Yeah.
people just a little bit of snapshot, your story, your background, what got you into the bike riding and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up, you know, humble beginnings, and it was my mom, my brother, and I, and it was cool just because my mom was such a well-versed person. She got us skating when we were super, super young, and as soon as I was able to walk, I was already on wheels, and it was one of those things that, you know, we really just gravitated towards that, and you know, it's like not having a ton growing up wasn't like the catalyst that was like, oh, well, now we're labeled this way. It was just more so like be more resourceful, and that resourcefulness actually transitioned into, you know, riding, which is awesome. So skating started it, and then my older brother, I was always trying to keep up with him, and so he was on a bike. I'm like, well, I want to do that. And she's like, all right, cool. So it just kind of transitioned in action sports. At that time, there was no X Games or anything like that yet, and so it's like 91. I was born in 87, but so like around 90. 91, like we're really into it, and I'm trying to keep up with my older brother, and it just kind of became this thing in our family. And so everybody, my mom even, I mean, she's out in the street, she can skate, she can ride bikes and all that stuff too. So
Nice.
it just became like the family thing, you know. And over time, I just again identified it. And there was one moment I had with my grandfather, and he quoted Confucius saying like, "Hey, look, man, if you do what you love, man, you'll never work another day in your life." You know, and I didn't get it at the time. I was way too young. But as I got older, it was a repeated thing, and then I understood, like, whoa, okay, that's what he was talking about. So um, go through high school, go through college. I studied architecture at UWM in Wisconsin. I was halfway through that program, and I was trying to compete still. And so at this time, I just started. I just made my way through the ranks and qualified through for Dew Tour. And so I'm like, oh, okay, great. And the goal was, you know, X Games. My first experience with X Games, 1995. I'm like, whoa, yo, this is crazy. My mom sees it on TV, yells at us to come in and check it out. And I just remember that was the spark right there. I'm like, whoa, dude, this is great. There's a platform that's awesome. And I mean, we're building dirt jumps and all that stuff at the time, but it just became this thing. So, so I took my grandpa's advice and started chasing it. And I mean, it took a while for it to stick, but you know, 2012 came around after riding Dew Tour for a few years, and I was able to get my first spot for X Games, and been running it since, man. So it's a huge, you know, blessing to have that platform, and it's a privilege, man, just to, you know, still be able to ride my bike today. But that was the kind of, like, you know, synopsis of it all kind of coming to fruition.
Yeah, and you primarily ride vert. So people don't know, you ride primarily the vert ramp right now. You're not one of the crazy guys riding, going insane in the bowl or anything like that. Like those guys are like next level, like insanity thrown down. But you primarily ride vert.
No, well, that's the funny thing. Like, I'll compete riding vert, but I ride everything.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Vert became, small story is, I qualified through the Gatorade Free Flow Tour, and that was back in 2009. What I was initially at the Free Flow Tour, and for people that don't know, the Free Flow Tour was this local contest thing they held, and they did it at 60 plus skate parks all over the U.S. They took all the winners from those contests, and they did a finals competition, and the goal was to gain a spot for Dew Tour, right? So you have a competition at your local park, you win that, and then like a month or two later, they do a finals contest, but it's at an actual Dew Tour. And so that was in Salt Lake, 2009. And so I won my local spot at Four Seasons Skate Park, and then all of a sudden I go to the finals contest, and I actually got hurt a week before. And so I saw the course layout. I'm like, I don't know, man. So I brought my full face because I knew the course was huge. And I got a full face from Koji Craft, and he was like, yeah, just use it, man. It's fine. And I showed up and did my thing, and you had to win that contest out of all these finalists to get a spot. And at the time, there were so many people. So I go from like 18th place all the way up to third. And so I mean, making podium was like winning to me. You know, I was over the moon. And that podium was, I took third, Chad Curley took second, and then Matt Wyatt took first place. So again, I'm over the moon, and I got staples in my head at the time, and like I was broke off, but I was still like, dude, I'm going. I gotta take advantage of this opportunity. So that was supposed to be it. That was supposed to be done, and that was for Park. So I'm just like, all right, cool, man. Well, that was cool while it lasted, and I'll just back to the drawing board, figure it out. I met a dude named Gio there, and he said, hey, man, like I got a wild card spot for vert, but I need a full face. And I didn't think he was fishing. I was like, all right, cool, man. Like I'll hook you up. I'll come down tomorrow and check you out at practice, and you can use it. He was like, all right, cool. And that's just BMX. Everybody's just being friends, right? So I go down there, find out he went home with food poisoning, but I'm at the arena watching the vert practice, and somebody yells down like, hey, you wanna ride vert? I'm like, all right, cool. And then an hour later, I ended up winning that contest, and that gave me my spot in the Dew Tour for vert. So
nice.
And again, ran with that. So yeah, I compete riding vert and doing big air mainly.
Yeah, but, the big air is what the gnarly stuff. That's the gnarly stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome, man. Like at the end of the day, like we're riding bikes, and the scale of big air is enormous for sure. But these guys riding park doing cork 900s can get broke off just like we can. I think we're all taking risks for sure, but dude, I get just as much enjoyment riding dirt, street, bowls, park, vert, mega, like you name it. And I'm grateful to have that outlet to compete doing those two events at X Games, and I've done park at X Games once too, but it's just BMX, so
yeah, you're riding a bike and you're enjoying it, and you have a smile on your face. And that's what I enjoy. Like a lot of the guys, there's guys within certain scenes that just have, you could tell they're enjoying it for just a pure passion, enjoying it, and they're not really like, it doesn't feel as much of a burden as a job as it is just enjoying it. That's and right. Like anytime I've seen you ride in the X Games, because we've been going to the Minneapolis X Games, I saw you down in Austin's X Games, like all the stuff. Yeah, when we lived down in Houston, like there's always those people where you could tell, and everybody says, you hear it on the TV, like, oh, here's Mykel Larrin, the biggest smile in the game, the most happy, the most friendly guy, and like you could see your smile through your mask, and you're just like doing your stuff. Like where some guys, most guys have like serious like go time face, and then they smile if they land, like stomp their run and stuff like that. But there's just like that ease sometimes, and you just look at like, he's just up there just having fun doing this thing, and when he's done, he sets his things down and he goes and he hangs out and he enjoys the rest of his time while he's there. It's not like a huge thing. So you mentioned too, how long have you been going to the Woodward? Have you been to the Woodward West, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I've been there a few times. And this is what was crazy is when I was living in Wisconsin, it was tough trying to figure all this stuff out. So to add to that backstory from earlier, trying to chase this BMX thing when I was in college was tough. And when I decided to drop out of college to chase it full time, there was a lot of adversity. And even with that, it really tests you to say, how bad do you want it, And I'd heard about Woodward. Micah Cranes actually kind of clued me in on it. Micah Cranes runs Division BMX. Awesome dude. He also does announcing for Nitro Circuits and whatnot. So so it's one of those things where he clued me in on it. I was like, man, maybe that's it, because I'm riding Dew Tour at the time. I have no vert ramp to ride. So I'm showing up to these competitions underprepared, and I heard about Woodward. So I'm like, all right, man, I need to check that out. And when I moved out there to Woodward East, that was amazing, And so West is amazing, Woodward Copper amazing, Tahoe amazing. They just opened up Park City in Utah. So the facilities are top notch, and that definitely gave me an edge that I needed in the beginning of my competing career kind of thing. But now San Diego, man, like I ride Claremont Skate Park mostly, and they got everything I need.
Where all the big hitters roll.
Yeah, man.
You run into our mutual friend Beaver Fleming there, and you get all the guys doing that crazy pump track sort of like the I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the skater cross course doing stuff, and they have that epic nice half pipe there, and
Yep.
like you said, all the nice facilities there. And like I said, we have mutual friends within probably the Woodward community, because like I
Hmm.
said, I've been invited the past 3 4 years now, 3 years, the Woodward West, or I don't know, pretty much Jake Kinney.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Jake Kinney's one of my good friends. I do a lot of stuff for him, and he's
It's awesome.
he's progressing the mountain biking industry. So if you need to get yourself a nice like freestyle mountain bike, so you can go out there, as
Yeah,
he's starting to develop their programming like worldwide, not just within Woodward West. Like he got a new job role, so he's progressing mountain biking. He's trying to make it kind of like the New Zealand of mountain biking up there in Utah. So he's trying to
that's awesome.
really grow the scene up there. So in the summertime, they could have these epic facilities for downhill mountain biking and stuff right there within, like I said. So yeah, we have some mutual friends. That's why I said if you've ever been to that Woodward West location, because we go out there and ride the dirt jumps and goof off a little
Yeah,
bit, and like brought my family the last 2 summers out there to let them enjoy some of the facilities and wear them out and get to hang out.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah. So are you married?
No, no, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not
haven't
yet.
haven't locked down a lovely
Yeah, no.
lady.
My lady and I have been dating for almost like coming up on like 2 years, you know, and it's awesome. But I love the process of just like, you know, taking our time. And I think for you know, it's wild too, just because I mean you talk about, you know, your immediate circle, and it's just amazing having the the support that you can have, you know. And you know, say for you, like in your family, you guys get these opportunities to have fun and build and all that. And I really do look forward to, you know, continuing to grow and whatnot. But I just get stoked on like the simple things and growing, and especially now with all this stuff that's going on right now. She's a nurse, and so she's on the front lines with all this stuff, and it's a different kind of shift, you know, because I'm going from being busy, 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 competing and all that stuff, to now it's shifted, and now she's the one that's super busy, 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 busy. And so it's just, you know, learning those different principles and guiding and trying to support and all that stuff. So so it's good, but yeah, at this point, you know, just taking our time and
Yeah,
cruising.
that's good. It's amazing.
Yeah,
So I know when we've chatted back and forth a little bit on like through Instagram or whatever, that um, that you're a believer, and that's what I tried to kind of clue in. Where did your faith come into the process? Did you grow up in the church? Did your family grow up in the church? Like, did your parents? Like, where did that all start and kind of has led into where you are right now?
yeah, no, it's a great question. So when I was younger, it was kind of stagnant a little bit, and then um, I found out who God was when I was around like 9. There was a church in my local neighbor, in my local neighborhood, in my neighborhood that it was St. Patrick's. It was a Catholic church, and my mom was like, "Hey, we're going to church." And at that time, I was like, "All right," like, you know, and it wasn't like against God or anything like that. I just didn't know. Yeah, so started going to that church Bible study, this and that. Got baptized at 9. I was like, "All right, cool." And then it was like, "All right, cool, we're good." And I was like, all right. And it just kind of it went back to being stagnant again. And that existed from when I was 9 all the way up until I was about 16. So at 16, I meet one of like my best friends, David Shear. His family ran a church, and it was community church in Racine, Wisconsin. And I had known Dave for like a year and some change, and him and I were like really good friends. We had a couple classes together in high school, and and I started going to his church, and that's where I understood what a relationship looked like. I'm like, oh, okay, this is way different. And I was like non-denominational Christian, you know. So I'm like, this is really cool. And then I went back onto the learning process of like, all right, man, what does this mean? What does it look like? Where am I at? What is, you know, what have I been through? Where do I want to go? Kind of laying a little bit more of a path, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I came to faith, and I finally understood like, all right, well, there's a bigger picture that's here. I only know so much. I can only, you know, learn and grow from here. And so I think one of the biggest things that stuck out to me, it wasn't like, you know, smacking somebody over the head with the Bible. It's just more so like, all right, well, people should be able to tell by the way you walk, by the way you act. Your actions, you know, should speak louder than your words. And you know, you kind of do it for yourself. Like I was never in that situation where I'm, you know, oh well, hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is what it looks like, and blah blah blah. Like people are like, hey man, you've changed a little bit. You're like, yeah, man, this is where I'm at, and I just really appreciate the path that it's taken, man, because it literally is one of those things that it's like I'm here today because of it. And so you talk about the adversity and everything else, and you have this arsenal of tools, whether it be patience or scripture or other people to talk to and lean on, and it's just one of those things where people are going to be people, right? And we're going to fall short of each other's expectations or whatever it might be every single day. So for me, leaning into the word and really just kind of having that relationship with this bigger idea, this bigger platform, has legitimately saved my life time and time again, just based on having the energy to continue forth and just kind of stay the course.
Yeah.
So yeah.
During that time, were you able to was your mom or your brother or anything coming to church with you? Were you able to kind of pull them in, or at the time was it just you doing it, or did they kind of see that you started doing it and they kind of started suit and started coming to church with you? Like how did all that did that play out at all?
Yeah, another good question. Yeah, that was in the beginning when we were doing when we were at the Catholic church. It was all of us, and that was great. And then my mom left it up to us. She was like, "All right, well, your choice now." And so when I started to venture down this other path and started going to Dave's church, I'm like, "Man, this is dope! Like, you guys got to come check this out," And they came a few times, and I think that is a dynamic that I'll never say it was a burden by any means. It's a privilege to be able to share that information and bring that information home. And I think that my mom was curious and she was like, "What? This is something different." Like, yeah, this is way different than the other church. So it was cool being able to share that knowledge and kind of like lift them up and bring that energy into the house.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so you could be a good influence to your brother and your parents and all that.
Yeah.
That's important because, like you said, if they saw a change in you, they're probably wondering like, hey, like what's going on? How can we be a part of it? What can we do to kind of see what it's about and possibly make a change in their lives also. So
yeah, totally. And I mean, by no means do I have all the answers, and I never have, but I think that it's this humble approach to, hey, this is working for me. This is amazing, and my brother and I would have like really in-depth conversations, and those type of things are everlasting, like even to this day, him and I have such a great relationship. And I think that again, when it comes to that kind of approach to it versus I've seen people before, and again, no judgment, but it's just one of those things where they come in swinging, they're like, this is this information, blah, 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 and they're like really pressing it. And I think people kind of back up a little bit and are resistant to that approach. But so for me, it's always been, slow, steady, stay the course. And that's worked best. Just, it works for me. And it's not for everybody necessarily, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you have anybody currently that really lifts you up and encourages you? Because for anybody out there, like the biggest thing about being a believer is having people around you that can encourage you either on a daily basis, weekly basis, just if you're out riding. Like, do you have anybody right now that as you're out riding, hanging out with, like, that really encourages you within your faith?
Yeah. I mean, Beaver's always been great. You know what I mean? And I'll see him at the skate park, and it's always solid. He's a great example too, because he's the type of guy that I've always enjoyed his energy when he's at the skate park. He's always positive. He'll be slamming, working for something, and he's still positive about it. So a lot of the kids really gravitate towards, what he's doing on the skateboard because it's a little bit out of the box, and I think kids really appreciate that. So Beaver's always been great. Every time I see him at the skate park, he's always, top notch, good energy. And even if it's like a quote unquote bad day, like he's still, good energy, which is great. And he can acknowledge it and be, just in the pocket and still work towards what he's trying to do. So so he's great. And then I also have a group of guys that I was roommates with while I was in college. All of us still talk to this day. So they're a great group to have on my side as well.
Nice. So someone we had a question here real fast and kind of ties in that Dana, whatever I don't know how to pronounce some of these sometimes. Says, what keeps you motivated?
For riding bikes. So motivation, or in general with my faith too.
Both. Let's just throw both out there since we're talking about both a little bit. So
yeah, simply put, I think the thing that keeps me most motivated is like I'm gonna die one day, and that might sound super crass and morbid, but I know I only have a limited amount of time here on this planet, and not that I have to do everything or have all the answers or anything like that, but the things that I find true to me, the things that give me the most creative process, like I want to tap into that. And I know that I was given blessings and gifts, and I want to be able to utilize those as much as I can before my time's up. I don't know when that time's coming, but I know that when it comes down to being able to experience life a certain way, there's a lens that I've been, privileged to live it through, and I want to capitalize on that. So that's my biggest thing, is just knowing that one day I won't be here. So it kind of puts a fire under my butt, and I just know that I have things to do, things to take care of, and and it's bigger than me. You know what I mean? So it's encouraging. But yeah, that's my biggest motivator. And again, it might sound morbid, but it's real. And I'm just a realist when it comes to that. And it's like, man, I got to get this stuff done and have fun with it. And I'm not going to sit there and wait and say, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. Like, I want to try it today. I can fail 100 times at it, but I know I'm trying. So yeah.
I know one of my favorite verses in 1 Corinthians 5:1. It says, "Our time on this earth is only temporary. Our bodies are just a temporary. We're just a tent." Like, we have a shirt that's based off that, but like, it's one of the verses that when my grandma was in the hospital and not doing well, that she was a fairly newer believer, and it's the one that I prayed over her and I read to her all the time, because she was going through some serious medical things and really struggling. And I said, hey, there's nothing wrong with having this temporary tent. Like, we're just here, and God's only gonna he's eventually gonna, things are just gonna go away. Like, as morbid as that sounds, like, the houses, the cars we have, like, we can have all the fortune and fame, but like you said, if there's no purpose to all that, then what is it? Like, you have to have a purpose behind it to live your life, like, to pursue it and to be passionate about it. So
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
So yeah, you mentioned you had Beaver, and then you have some college friends that have helped to kind of keep you motivated and on the straight path. Have you crossed paths? I know we have another mutual friend, Dustin Oren.
I was thinking about him, man. Dustin is honestly like he has such a gift, and it doesn't matter where you're from, what you're into. Dustin has this energy that he brings every single time I see him, and I love it. I remember meeting him long years ago. I was doing the Target program with Kevin Robinson at Woodward East. Dustin was the Woodward West guy, so we heard of each other but never met. And then we finally meet. I'm like, dude, this dude is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, we just hit it off. And to this day, I mean, Dustin has such great energy, and I really appreciate where his faith is and just the amount of encouragement that guy has. And in light of that, with Dustin, it's like Morgan Wade's another one. And it's just one of those things where, like, I crack up at how simple it can be. It's like we'll break out and be like, oh, hey, let's go over here and pray real quick. All right, cool. And then we just get ready, and, it's right before like a big air competition or something like that. And Morgan and I know it's about to get buck, like we're about to go off. And it's just nice being able to have peace with that before you engage in this, massive event.
Yeah, especially like you said, you have people like within your community, the BMX community, that understand what you're going through, like either the struggles, the scene, like you said, big air. Like, it's not like something you're just like rolling in on this like little 5-foot quarter pipe. You're coming down like 6-7 stories down this ramp, and then hitting a 22-foot quarter pipe after doing 100-foot air, doing some crazy trick. Being able to have someone next to you that you could pray with and having peace and say, hey, protect us, guide us, let us walk away. Even if we don't pull the trick we want to pull, let us walk away and just be able to just continue to do what we want to do and have fun and give people a little bit of a show. So are you still writing? I'm sure, like, I'm assuming with the lockdown, you're getting out and keeping fresh in some sort of, doing some sort of writing.
All the skate parks are closed, man. I wish I was still riding. I've taken a couple rides, like, just around the neighborhood, but still, I mean, it's everything with this COVID thing right now is, important to, pay attention to the details, like small details, right? So for me, I know I have the itch, and I'm riding every day, before this thing happened, and getting ready for there was Nitro World Games coming up, and there's also X Games China coming up. Vans Park Series was starting up, and so it's like, man, all this stuff, and now it's canceled. So it's tough going from working towards something and being on the bike for, 4 or 5 hours a day to zero. But it's just one of those things where I want to take it serious and, have that ability to, still have that creative process. But that's where the music's coming now. So not riding nearly close to any amount of what I was before, but, for those occasional, go out and ride for like 30 minutes just to pedal, that's good. But I still want to limit that as well.
Yeah. A lot of the people that I've been able to talk to be in this, they've been really using this because they've traveled so much and they've been on the road so much.
Mm-hmm.
They've really been using this time to just almost do nothing, because some of them get beat up, they're hurt, they're nursing knees that they're like, hey, I need a rapid rebuild, like get back, like I need to like do all the rehab I can to get my knee back and going. Now they're all like, hey, I can actually take my time now and let my body heal and kind of catch up and be able to then, when things get booted back up, like, and a lot of them were saying there's going to be guys throwing down because they're going to be healed. They're going to be like, I haven't been on my bike for months. I want to go out there and like either one, show off what I've been doing behind closed doors, or two, because I can actually feel good and I'm not achy and I'm not like getting up and like ice packing everything and making sure I can like walk out the door because I've been riding for the previous 5 days in a row, at the park. So
that's right. Yeah.
What do you think about?
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just reading this other question, but we can keep going. Keep going.
Well, I was just gonna say that I think that there's like I'm in that boat too, and there's days where I'm like, early 30s going on, 55 some days, and you look at injuries that kind of surface, and then there's other days where it's like mid 30s going on 19. It just kind of depends on how your body's feeling. And so with this time to actually heal, there's always some type of injury, that exists. So so I'm excited to see, like, when all this stuff gets lifted and people get back out there. I think it'll be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. What's the, like, one of the questions I've been wanting to ask you is, what's one of the gnarliest things you've done to date that when you look back you're like, wow, did I just do that?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know X Games Minneapolis, you did, guys were throwing down a little, getting a little crazy on the drop-in roll-in ramp. And there was a couple of people I was like, really? Did he just do that? Like,
yeah, that was, I think, to so it's always like a mix of things, right? It could be something super simple, like recently I've been working on hang fives, and that to some people are like, oh, cool, that's, you're not even leaving the ground. Flatland is one of the most difficult things that I've ever attempted. Dane Beardsley, Terry Adams, and a few other guys like Chad DeGroot have always had really good conversations, and I'm grateful because they always share great knowledge with it. But you have these things about learning different ways to approach BMX and what it's like. Is there a way to make it more difficult? Is there a way to make it easier? Like, how does it kind of balance out? So Flatland's been huge, just playing around with those things. But yes, for the big air thing, Morgan and I were in Australia, and him and I are cracking up because we're like, how that'd be so sick if we can drop in on it. And back in Russia, we're gonna do like a Moscow X Games type thing. They were kind of testing the waters, and Morgan actually dropped in for the first time there, so he was the first one to do it. He's like, Mykel, dude, you're gonna love it, man. Come on, bro, you got to try it. And I was like, all right, man, we'll see. And so that contest actually got canceled while we were there, so didn't get the opportunity. Fast forward to Australia, and Morgan's like, sup? I was like, yeah, all right. You know what, I'm down. All right, we'll try it. And so we're messing around a little bit with it there, and then I remember we're in China, and then we really got the opportunity to kind of go crazy with it. And it was just funny, just because I know Morgan is such a agent for pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm with it, man. Between doing competitions with him, doing some of the bikes over Baghdad trips that we used to do, entertaining the troops. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm always down to push the envelope, and I know that we can do it safely and kind of stretch ourselves. And so, yeah, those drop-ins have been some of the most fun, and they stand out the most to me for sure.
Yeah. After the BMXers were doing it at the X Games this past year, I know Beaver had the itch, and when they were doing the trophy ceremony, some eyes were watching him at the top when he was trying to do the the ollie in down the
Yeah.
thing, and that was like, I'm guessing probably this next year, if it happens, like if things clear up and they allow the X Games to
Yeah.
happen in some form or fashion, I think that's probably going to be thrown down in some form, because I'm sure he's not the only one that thought that idea and
Mm-hmm.
and wants to make that happen on the skateboard. Because yeah, like
Yeah.
backflip. Who is it that backflipped it? Came rolled in, backflip, land, and then went.
Ryan Williams. Yeah.
Ryan. Oh, he won. Yeah, he won it. Yeah, he did the backflip, and
Yep.
then his insane, crazy scooter related tricks, and yeah, he's
Yeah. I
a
mean,
nutcase.
yeah. Well, because I know that he does get a lot of flack sometimes from the BMX community, but I mean, this dude could ride anything, and I think when it comes down to competing against him, when he first got onto the scene, I think most people were kind of like, oh, all right. And my biggest thing was like, all right, cool, man. Like I could be the type that sits in the cut and not say anything, or try to help, and I think that I always want to try to help. That's like my biggest thing.
Mhm.
So for him coming into the competition series, it's like, dude, yo, like we got to be safe about this, man. Like this isn't Nitro Circus. There's no inflatable landing. Like this is all real, and not maybe the jump, but more so the quarter pipe. It's
Yeah.
like you got to be on it, man. That quarter pipe is not forgiving at all. So it was cool being able to hang out, and he was very assertive with his questions, and he wanted to be a sponge and soak it up, and it worked. Like this guy actually put the work in. So so I don't take anything from him, man. He's a very creative person on and off the bike, and I just think that the stuff that he was bringing was something different, something new, and I tip my hat to anybody that's willing to stretch the envelope like that. And he definitely he's killing it. And so same with Morgan, same with guys like Dougie, anybody, man. I mean, Zach Warden back in the day doing the backflip, bike flip to late tail whip. It's like, so cutting edge, man. Nobody was doing that. Still, nobody's doing that. And I just love that kind of creative outlet on BMX. And that's like, tipping hat to, Matt Hoffman or Kevin Robinson or any of these guys, man. Like they stretch the envelope and create something new. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So another question I really want to ask you is how, because I've talked a lot with Dustin about this, because me and him almost chat on a weekly basis, because he's a good friend and he loves our daughters, and he stays at my house when he comes here for the X Games, and so we got to know him really well. And where have you really seen God show up when you're riding or within your BMX community? Like what has God been able to do through that? And I don't know, like, have you been able to talk to other riders? Like, I know you mentioned earlier you just want to be a positive influence on them, but like, where's God really shown up when you've really, like, when you really think about, like, hey, I've been doing this, and this is instances where I've really felt where God's been present?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the biggest thing is it's almost too easy when you're on top. And what I mean by that is there's no adversity. It's God can get the glory for sure when you're on top, but it's more so in the dark moments, right? So injuries, people are stressed out, they have anxiety, they have all these different ailments that are possibly like hindering them from being the best versions of themselves. And I think that's where the conversations happen 100%. Those rides up, for example, for Big Air, it's like a minute ride from the floor up to the tower, to the top of the tower. And those conversations, I mean, you see people stressed out, and rightfully so. I mean, you're riding something so huge. So when injuries happen in that, or people are trying to, figure out what the next step is for their next run or whatever, it's a very tactful opportunity to just really, talk about what God's doing, and that's tipping my hat to people like Morgan and Dougie and Beaver and stuff, and it's cool just because it's, again, like it's a process of elimination when it comes to your approach, right? So you have practice, you're going to do what you're going to do, and you're thinking nothing but good thoughts, obviously, but things do go wrong, and I think that's where it's always been the most places he's shown up in those moments. So that's just my take on it. I'm sure for some other people, like it might be a little different, but for me, that's been the most consistent place that he's shown up.
brake? Someone says choose one, brakeless or brakes.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, brakes. And the reason I say that is because I love doing fufanu's and abubakas and 360 tail taps and all that stuff. And so for me, I don't know, like I really enjoy it. But again, I mean, with brakeless or free coast, like you throw a free coaster on, and all of a sudden your bike becomes a totally different tool, you know, which is cool. So,
Yeah. What's your worst injury to date? Kobe Bikes wants to know.
oh man, worst injury. Probably this last one. I got injured back in October. Overshot a front flip and broken ribs, sternum, collapsed lung. Like I got smoked, man. That was pretty bad. But um, that one comes to mind first because it was the most recent. But aside from that, the injury that happened right before the Gatorade Free Flow contest with like Curly and Wyatt on the podium. That injury was so crazy. I was at the flow skate park, and at the time, I'm thinking like, all right, park contest, I want to do great. So I could do Superman seat grabs and I could do flips. And I remember around that time, Alan Cook won dirt at X Games. The backflip Superman seat grab was a part of his run. I'm like, man, that'd be amazing to do that. So I was at the flow skate park, and I'm with guys from Division BMX, Micah's company, and I was doing it into the foam pit and it was working, and I really wanted to extend it. And so I try a few more. And as I extend this rotation, I stopped rotating completely. So I freak out, and this is why you never let go of your bike in the foam pit. I let it shoot out, and I gainer, and I go in the foam pit, and as I look up, the bike's flailing above me, and I kind of like.
Oh, did we lose him?
Sorry about that. No, we're good. Sorry.
All right, you're good.
So my bike comes down on top of me, and the peg actually pierces through the helmet, and I'm out, completely knocked out in the foam pit. And so hairline fracture in my skull, and I got a laceration, right? So I had 14 staples. And so that was what happened before I went out, you know, to that competition. And I would never advise anybody to be like, oh yeah, I'm showing up hurt. But I just knew I was at the cutoff. I was 21. That was like the last opportunity I would have to do that series. And, you know, God really just worked through that moment. As I said before, like he shows up in the dark moments. And I just felt super led to go and to compete, you know, and I just got healthy enough to where I was like in the right frame of mind, and I was able to, you know, make it happen. But those two have probably been the worst. So, yeah.
What's your favorite trick? Someone was asking, what's your favorite trick right now that you're doing?
Top of the head is just Grizz Air. That's always been like tried and true for me, and like I love that trick.
Nice. My friend John Andrews says, shout out, grew up in the Racine skate park too.
Yeah.
When he showed up at the Racine skate park, he switched to BMX. So that must have been a while back before you did it. Does he have a rubber body? How do you tweak look backs that far?
That's funny. I think the trick for me is literally, it's
yoga.
Yeah, so yoga, but it's literally my hands. So a lot of people, when they do the look back, they're full fist. And when I do mine, I'm only holding on with my index finger and my thumb. That's it. So as the bar rotates, my hand peels off like that. And that's how I'm able to put it to 270 versus it just being at like 180.
Oh, there you go. Trick tip from Mykel. Do your look backs with just your fingers.
That's
not
it.
Full hands.
Index finger, yeah.
Index finger. Nice. Well, before we run out too much time here, because I know Instagram caps us at like an hour, I'd like to take a moment to just pray. Pray for you, especially pray for your girlfriend, because she's out there in the front lines. So I just want to take a moment and just lift you up in prayer because of everything going on, just to keep you motivated and driven, and just pray for everybody that's out there that's watching this. So,
Appreciate it.
Just take a minute here before we run out of too much time here. So, all right?
Cool. Yep.
All right. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day, Lord. I thank you for this great conversation with Mykel. And Lord, I just lift him up within his industry, Lord, as he's riding his bike, as he's out there on the front lines, hanging out with the community and hanging out with other riders that he comes in contact with, Lord, that you will just continue to use him and to be a light into that community, Lord. Help him to be a positive influence. Give him those opportunities to speak to those other riders and other kids and people that he comes in contact with, Lord, even if they aren't riding a bike and he's just out there on the streets or in a contest, Lord, that he will be able to just show them love and show them respect and be able to just give them that little, plant that seed in their heart, Lord. And I also lift up his girlfriend, who's a nurse, and she's out on the front lines helping people and taking care of the sick, Lord, that you will just protect her and watch over her and be there for her in her life and allow her and Mykel just to continue to further their relationship and grow stronger in you, Lord. And that I just pray for everybody who's out there watching this right now, Lord, that you will just be with them and just help them in the time of their need, wherever they're at in their life, that you will bless them and watch over them and give them protection and guidance and give them the hope that they need. And I just thank you for who you are, Lord, and giving us all these individually unique talents and gifts and being able to use them for your glory, and that we won't take them for granted, and we'll just continue to do that and look to you for strength. In your precious name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
No, thank you. I really appreciate your time, Mykel. Stay safe, and when everything opens back up, get back out there and ride and enjoy being on your bike. And hopefully we'll look forward to seeing you here soon again here in Minneapolis. So that's what I'm excited for, to see some of the guys here if they hopefully they don't cancel it or postpone it or anything. But thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it means a lot, man. And hopefully when we come out there, we'll be able to hang out and catch up and share some laughs.
Get some food, go hang out, take you to a local spot or something.
Please, yeah, that'd be awesome, man.
All right.
Awesome.
Take care.
Cheers, brother.
You too. Have a wonderful day.
You too.